Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this is Taking Care of Business. Joining me today is Patrick Poulin, who is Group President for Randstad Canada. Thanks, Patrick, for joining us today.
Thanks, Mario.
Well, I was interested in a report that you folks put out recently, and it talked about, quote unquote, the Great Resignation. And it's a term that we're using a lot these days in society, in the business world. Tell me and explain to me what that signifies, what that phrase is pointing to.
It's a good. We name it as well the big quit, if we can say.
Quit.
Yeah. So with the labor shortage happening right now, with the economy like being in the roof as well at the same time, like with the recovery that we're seeing. So the Great Resignation is that we see many employees leaving their job for other jobs, like with better salary and better conditions. And because of, like I said, like the big shortage happening like everywhere, not only in the country, but also across the world. Like I'm in touch with many of my colleagues across the world, and we're all in the same situation right now.
Let's talk first of all about people leaving their jobs to go elsewhere, right?
Yep.
If you hit the rewind button to 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, you never saw this, right? People like my father worked the same company for decades, right?
Yep.
Heck, I'm an example of that. I've worked for 35 years at one employer, right?
Yep.
So why are we seeing that shift maybe in mentality, with people today that are, they're not, say, as loyal as maybe people were in the past, and they do decide to move on if they want to.
Exactly. We've seen that. And even before the pandemic, Mario, like we've seen that the employees were less loyal, like you're saying. Like the average length of service that the people were looking at, like it's like up to 5 years. Huh? Like after that, we were saying like, oh, wow, okay, that becomes quite good. Like the 35 years, we don't see them so much like anymore, unfortunately, but fortunately as well, because the people, they want to grow up, like they want to build their career. It's really important. And I think that's part of the reality of today. But when we look at like what's happening right now, it got even worse, because right now the market is so like attractive for all the job seekers that it creates even more, like I would say, changes in their career. So it's a different situation right now. Yeah.
When I was looking at your numbers from the study, 43% of them were looking for a new job, higher among younger people. Why would that be?
I'm not surprised by this, because usually we've seen, again, the loyalty piece, like you've been discussing at the beginning. We've seen that like the younger generation is moving more with their job. So I wasn't surprised by this to see from the 18 to 34 having like we're close to 62% exactly, like that would be looking to change their job like within the next year. So on this side, like that wasn't a big surprise, because we see that. On the other side though, when we look at the other generation, when we look at the 35 to 54 group, that's where it became, quite surprising that we've seen that almost 50% of the people would be looking or would be willing to change their job like within the next year. That's quite surprising on this side.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you look at these people and what are they looking for? Are they looking for money? Are they looking for perks? Are they looking for just a change of pace?
I think it's a combination of many things. The first thing that usually that people are changing their jobs for, it's the money, for sure. It's usually always comes first.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because we've done some survey for the past 10 years, and every single year we've seen that the first thing that the people will change their job for is money. But there's not only this though, in the current situation, what changes a lot is that the people are attracted by the conditions that comes with the job as well. So as you know, like with the pandemic, like the working from home situation has been evolving quite a lot. And a lot of companies now, they offer hybrid models where the people could work like from home, but from the office as well. And some of them, it's fully remote. So that's the kind of thing that could be very attractive for the employees as well. Like in the current situation, the people have seen that, oh, okay, that became quite important for them in their work condition at the end.
Yeah. So 61% of employers show low confidence in that they can retain their workers. Is there, in your survey, or maybe even anecdotally, are there any particular industries that are particularly finding this more difficult today?
I wouldn't say that there are any particular industry. For sure, where we see the biggest shortage happening, there are some positions that where we see like a lot of demand for those positions. As an example, the IT sector, like the IT sector is still like was very like having challenges before the pandemic, but since the pandemic, it got even worse. And we know that the shift that the companies have been doing on the digital space, and now it created like even more value for those people. So that's an area that, yes, for sure, when we look at it, this specific industry, yes, like there's a little bit of a war, like who's going to offer more to get those people at the end. So that's a pretty big challenge right now. Yeah.
So when you're looking at the Great Resignation, is it across the board in terms of geographically in Canada, or are you finding that any certain provinces this may be a bigger problem?
When we look at it, it's pretty much the same across Canada. Some provinces, it's a little bit higher, but it's pretty much the same. Like everyone is in the same situation. But when we look at it, with the industries on this, Mario, is that we see that like the retail and the hospitality industry, as you know, have been quite like touched by the crisis, huh?
Yeah.
Opening their businesses, and after that they needed to shut down, reopen, and it created a lot of insecurity for the employees. And we've seen a shift of those employees like going to a more secure like jobs at the end. Yeah. And that's where it created, unfortunately, in those sectors, like even more like shortage that we see right now. So it's a big challenge.
Yeah. So what is the impact, Patrick, of companies that can't find enough employees to do the work? What's the overall impact of that?
At different level, I would say that for sure, delivering on the production side, it's really a challenge. Some of the companies, I've seen some clients shutting down some shift because they didn't have enough people. Yeah. We see that, like with the restaurants, like specifically, we see that the opening hours are getting like shorter, and it's quite a challenge for them. Like it has a huge impact on the operation side, and we see that it has as well collateral damages, because on the supply chain for some companies, when they need their parts to build up like their product, like it has a domino effect on everyone, because if my supplier is having challenges, for sure it's going to have impact on me on getting what I need to build my product or my service at the end.
Yeah, and then on the sort of the big picture, the grand scale, it impacts the overall economic performance of the country, right?
Exactly. But it's not, again, for sure, the economy would go even better if we wouldn't be facing this. But at some point, it's a balance. Like, is it a good thing that is what's happening as well? Maybe it just balance out a little bit more the economy, because the economy is quite strong. Like it's been many years that we haven't seen the economy like this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks very much, Patrick, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, Mario.
All right, super. That was Patrick Poulin, who is Group President for Randstad Canada. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.